Is it audible? Indeed. Yeah, thank you. Mrs. Jumo Lolne, the Distinguished Director of IRMA, Mrs. Molly Kurien, Srimati Nirmala Kurien, Dr. Amrita Patel, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, and scholars, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I must thank the Director and the administration of this IRMA for giving me the privilege of delivering the first Verghese Kurien Memorial Lecture on his birthday. I thank you very much. I value this opportunity very greatly because I have known Dr. Kurien for a very long time. I think from first 1955 when I met him at Anand. I think this quotation has also been shown very recently in the other beautiful collection of quotations. I used it when I paid a tribute after his death because I think for nobody else it fits in so appropriately as Dr. Kurien. The last word. Can you put off these lights? These lights can be put off. This alone. The future speaks ruthlessly to them when they change the world, and that's what he did. He changed the dairy world of India, Dr. Kurien. Not very many people have an opportunity to do so. Kurien was told, when you want to achieve great things, you must also have institutions which can help you to convert your dreams into reality. Therefore, he paid very considerable attention to the building of institutions, starting with the National Dairy Development Board at the time of Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was Prime Minister, who asked Dr. Kurien to chair it and develop the board. And its distinguished present chairperson, Dr. Amrita Patel, is here. Operation Flood, this is well known to you, Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation and the AMUL, which is a household name. The Institute of Rural Management, where we are now, among many, there are many others which are there, which he has built. He is a brainchild, which he was very fond of IRMA, because I think his conviction was, rural India requires professional managers who know the profession well, and who are characterized by a high degree of integrity, as was shown earlier, people who value the work which they are doing, and then do it with honestly and with great deal of perfection. Therefore, IRMA was one of his very important concepts, an institution which can provide a whole army of well-trained managers for rural India, starting with the Operation Flood 2, because it was originally conceived as one which can meet the demands of the growing cooperative sector in the country, and many other institutions. I think such footprints make a mortal into immortal. You leave behind footprints on the sands of time. The International Year, it so happened that this year is also been declared by the United Nations as the International Year of Cooperatives. I've taken a small publication from FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization. It is estimated that 1 billion individuals are members of cooperatives worldwide. Out of a global population of about 6 billion, little over 6 billion, 1 billion are members of cooperatives, generating more than 100 million jobs in agriculture, forestry, fishing, livestock, and so on. The International Year of Cooperatives in 2012 celebrates the unique role that this business model with a social conscience, that's how they have described cooperatives, a business model which must be successful. You heard Dr. Kurien say in the previous film, whatever I take must succeed, I must succeed. And therefore the will to succeed with the business, but the social conscience plays in our world, and that is the significance of the International Year of Cooperatives. The significance of cooperative is in an era where we talk about jobless growth. Cooperative is one method of promoting job-led growth. It promotes more opportunities for employment along the whole value chain. Cooperatives across all sectors provide over 100 million jobs in the world, 20% more than all multinational enterprises, the big multinational enterprises, 20% more. In 2008, the top 300 cooperatives were responsible for an aggregate turnover of US dollars 1.1 trillion. This is the size of the world's 10th largest economy, Canada, and nearly the size of the economy of Spain. And you know very well what the Indian dairy cooperatives with a very large number of membership. And I think now this was 2005 data. The share of the milk production must be over 25% of the total milk production through the cooperatives. The World Food Day, every year October 16th, is commemorated as the World Food Day because that is the day when FAO was established at Quebec in 1945. So they hold it as a World Food Day. And this year's theme for the World Food Day was agricultural cooperatives key to feeding the world. Because agriculture in 2000 was the World Food Day theme in recognition of the role cooperatives play in improving food security and contributing to the eradication of hunger. National Dairy Development Board has promoted, now it must be more. The data, the last one I saw, over 150,000 village cooperatives with about 15 million members, very large number, the largest one. I must also say Dr. Kurien's success in the dairy sector promoted others also to think along similar way. Paul Potten is another iconic figure who was greatly influenced by Dr. Kurien's own philosophy, and he promoted, with the help of the Government of India, the Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited IFCO, Krishak Bharati Cooperative Limited KRIPCO, and the outstanding examples of commercially successful and nationally important multi-state cooperatives. They are doing very well, and as I said, another iconic figure, Paul Potten, who had always told me that his role model was Dr. Kurien, so it was important. Dr. Kurien also wanted to revolutionize our oilseed sector and also vegetable sector, horticulture sector. He was very keen that we must extend the benefits of the cooperative movement at Junagadh, for example, where the groundnut area is very important contributor of groundnut. We started, but I won't go into it now, but the fact remains, he even got money for starting it from the Cooperative Union of United States and Canada, CLUSA as it is called, Canada and the United States. At that time, I think over 150 crore of funds he got to start off the cooperatives in the oilseed sector. In my personal view, if this has been, we have adopted that pathway, we will not be importing such a large quantity of oil, vegetable oil. We are now, I think this year, 8 to 9 million tons, sometimes even more of vegetable oils in the country. Dr. Kurien's main concern was the management of the cooperative. It must be, as I told you, in professional hands. He had wanted to change the Cooperative Act, of course, in relation to the Constitution 97th Amendment Act 2011 has been enacted by Parliament to aid the promotion, ownership, control and management of cooperatives by members so that the outsiders don't control the cooperatives. And all states need to formulate a new Cooperative Act in line with the 97th Amendment before 11 February 2013. Indian livestock sector, in the whole agriculture sector, although we have been wanting over 4% growth rate in agriculture, it has not been realized. But in the case of the animal husbandry sector and also horticulture sector, these two are doing very well. The sector is growing at 4.8% and its contribution to national GDP is increasing. At the moment, 28% of agriculture GDP comes from the livestock sector. The sector also remains small scale. This is why I call it a job-led economic growth, and hence cooperatives continue to form an important vehicle for rural well-being. The cooperative research reach needs to be extended to all parts of the country. Cooperative model provides the advantage of combining what Mahatma Gandhi said, mass production technologies with production by masses. He wanted a production by masses, but infused mass production technology within the framework of production by masses and whatever is relevant. You combine the strength of both of them. Operation Flood, I need hardly tell you how it changed the face of India, took us to the first position in the world in milk production, remained a small-scale sector, and the ownership of livestock is much more egalitarian than the ownership of land, much more egalitarian. Livestock and livelihoods are very closely related in rural India, and the ownership of livestock is much more egalitarian than the ownership of land. Gradually, our buffalo milk became much more important. In the early days of a century ago, the cow's milk was the more important. Gradually, with organization of cooperatives and organized breeding, feeding, and healthcare, as you see, the buffalo milk is the dominant milk, cattle next, and of course goat is the third one, a small percentage, 4.4%. Now a little bit less, 3.5%. Dr. Kurien was the first to produce milk powder from buffalo milk. I think one of the important components of his strategy was to ensure that there is an even flow of milk for the consumer throughout the year. So in the time when it is surplus, you convert to milk powder and then use it for the purpose of feeding the grid, the milk grid, when there is a milk shortage due to shortage of fodder, and so on. Share of marginal and small holders. I already mentioned that the large holders are the largest milk producing households. Ownership of livestock is more egalitarian than that. There are variability within the country. Percentage of milk production procured by cooperatives is highest in Gujarat. Karnataka comes next, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu almost equal. These are 4 states where the cooperatives are playing a very important role in terms of milk production, processing, marketing, and so on. The others are all coming up slowly, they are realized. In the case of credit, cooperative credit, there is a recent article by Rajya, who has pointed out data indicate a fall in the share of cooperatives in the rural credit market from around 62% in 1992-93 to about 34%. This is also because when you express in percentages, sometimes it may be misleading, but the overall growth is also high. Therefore, the share has not, in absolute terms, it has not come down, but proportionate terms it has come down, in spite of an increase of just fewer than 10% per annum in absolute disbursement. So according to Raju, the way forward, there can be no two opinions on the need for professionalization of cooperative societies at all tiers and levels. NABARD's Human Resource Development Committee has identified many gaps that require immediate attention. Let me now extrapolate it. I mentioned the title of the talk is the role of cooperative pathway in strengthening rural livelihood and nutrition security. Our farm size, an average farm size, is going down because larger families gradually, when the families grow, the land is divided and you have a smaller and smaller holdings. Over 80%, we have about 130 million operational holdings, out of which over 80% are small farmers. The small farmers, according to our definition, is 2 hectares and below, and marginal farmers are 1 hectare and below. According to the NSS data, average total income of farmer households with up to 2 hectares of land was less than 80% of the consumption expenditure. That is why farming, the younger generation find farming not very attractive economically. One of the reasons why in the Farmers Commission, which I chaired, we suggested that the minimum support price should be at least C2. That means total cost of production plus 50% more. Otherwise, farming will not be remunerated at all. After all, they are also human beings. They don't have pay commissions and so on. Therefore, they will have to earn from their own sweat and toil in the fields. And this is the reason why I put in methods of increasing farmers' income, wherever possible, cooperative farming and service cooperatives. Although in the second 5-year plan, Jawaharlal Nehru was a very great protagonist of cooperative method. He believed that public sector, private sector, and the cooperative sector are the 3 pillars of our economic growth, and all the 3 are important. Particularly the cooperative sector can promote more inclusive growth in terms of access to credit, access to knowledge, access to market, and so on. This is why I emphasize agriculture in particular, because it's a decentralized activity. There should be more cooperative initiatives. It didn't happen, but the fact remains cooperative farming, but service cooperatives also have not grown. I wish they grow more because the rural India is crying for services of various kinds. Last week I was in Ludhiana, coming down, so much of all the rice straw was being burnt, and that's one of the problems, a very smog in Delhi. The rice straw can provide you with a number of other commodities, including ethanol. You can produce energy from it, or you can produce a whole series of things. But because there is no proper implement, I think they want to prepare the land for wheat production, wheat cultivation. So you cut off the rice straw and burn it. Now, if you've got a service cooperative which can help them to plow it in, the rice straw quickly in the soil, and thereby not delay wheat sowings, then they will take it down. Group farming by small self-help groups. This is not very much confined to a few areas. Women farmers, I saw in Vidarbha, women farmers are now trying to get together and start the Mahila Kisan. There is a program called Mahila Kisan Sashaktikaran Pariyojana. They are trying to give more and more of small self-help groups, smallholders estates, particularly possible in the case of horticulture and aquaculture. A whole group of people in an area combined together and manage the plant protection measures and also the marketing and so on. Contract farming, farmers' companies, gradually in specialized cases like seed production or trichogramma, biofertilizers, biopesticides, farmers are joining together, forming a company. Well, what we need today in the case of keeping the economic viability of small farm is a management revolution. That is where you are involved. A small farm management revolution by whatever methods you want, which will work culturally, and unless the people there accept, they don't worship one particular pathway, but whatever will work, wherever will work, it is important. But to me it is clear that unless there is going to be a sort of management revolution, our small farmers will have a lot of difficulty, because what is called the cost, risk, return structure of farming is becoming more and more unfavorable. Dr. Kurien was also concerned with the genetic erosion in farm animals. Those who come from Kerala know this cow, Vechur cow. It's a famous one of the smallest in the world. It has got a particular, its milk apparently has certain properties which are unique. Same in relation to buffaloes breeds, Badavari breed. The Badavari breed, the Bundelkhand area, according to the old literature, the last century, you find Badavari has 12 to 13% butterfat content. But we are not able to get pure Badavaris now. We're trying to collect them. Many of them have gone. Bulgaria has a very good collection of our own buffaloes. They have kept, they are very large, because for the cheese making, the buffalo goat milk cheese making, they have a wonderful collection of Indian buffaloes. The Tarparkar Rati is very hardy in terms of all along the Rajasthan canal, or Indira Gandhi canal, the desert areas of Rajasthan. Rati is a very strong, heat-resistant animal. So we have a National Bureau of Animal Genetic Resources, which is charged with the saving of such rare animals, but they don't have facilities for conservation. They have a good database at Karnal. If you look at Karnal, they maintain data on all the breeds of India and what is happening to them, but they don't have actual land or facilities to maintain pure breeds. And I therefore have been saying that some of the large state farms, we have a number of state farms all over India, and they should allot 1,000 acres or so just to maintain the important breeds of that area. Some individual farmers are maintaining, so we have recommended a breed savior award for those farmers who are maintaining animal breeds at their own, for public good. They are maintaining at personal cost, and these people need to be recognized and rewarded. We have a similar program called Genome Savior Award in the case of crops, where people conserve varieties of rice or varieties of wheat or any other crop. When they conserve varieties, they are eligible for recognition and reward through the Genome Savior Award. We require a similar one, the Breed Savior Award. Fortunately, very recently, the National Biodiversity Board has been able to get the sanction of the Government of India to start this Breed Savior Award. and we hope it will be an incentive for not only government, the public institutions should maintain, like ICR and so on. At the same time, individuals can also make a contribution. Crop livestock integrated farming system is both a way of life and a means to livelihood in our country. In fact, most of the farms in the earlier days were all crop livestock integrated farms. For a simple reason, people wanted milk for their own household. At the same time, the manure, the animal provided manure, it became, before the onset of the fertilizers, this was the method of replenishing soil fertility. Nowadays, we use it for organic farming wherever possible. Large number of women, it's largely a woman-centered occupation. But the major problem today with our animals is the nutrition problem, animal nutrition. If there is so much malnutrition among human beings, you can examine, you can wonder how much malnutrition exists in farm animals, their own. I recall Dr. Kurien telling me long ago, while crossbreeding we can undertake, embryo transplantation and so on we can undertake. The most important thing is the large number of animals we have now. If you feed them a little better, they will give you, instead of giving 4 liters, they will give 6 liters, 7 liters. So that the total milk production will be very high. Quickly, the quickest way of improving milk production is through animal feed. Unfortunately, most of our concentrates, including soya meal, they are being exported. We are exporting most of the animal concentrates, while it should have been present. You see, we have got over 1.1 billion farm animals, cows, buffaloes, goats, and also poultry. When I include poultry, about 500 million poultry, they all require also food. They are not like plants, they are not primary producers of energy. They are secondary converters of energy, they require food, and therefore we need to pay more attention to the policy, export-import policy, with reference to concentrates, whether we use it for our own benefit, for our own people. The very extensive malnutrition in the country is a very serious problem. In fact, Dr. Manmohan Singh called it a national shame that we have such extensive, over 40, whatever indicators in nutrition come out, we are somewhat at the bottom. The hunger index of the International Food Policy Research Institute, whichever index comes, there is another new index which has come, you find we occupy a rather poor position. This is rather unfortunate because we are one of the early countries to recognize the importance of nutrition. For example, ICDS, the Integrated Child Development Service, started in the 70s. In the 70s, it brings together for the first time nutrition, education, and healthcare of the child. Its deficiency was it was able to cover only children from 2 years and above. Below 2 years age, you have to approach the child through the mother. This is now what is called the first 1,000 days. The first 1,000 days of a child's life. From the time the child is conceived until the time it completes 2 years. This is a very critical period, the first 1,000 days, in terms of brain development, cognitive abilities. Malnutrition at this stage has a number of adverse implications for the child's life in the future. And therefore, we started a program in some parts of Cooperative and other places where there is severe malnutrition. The Kalahandi, Bolangir, KBK region it is called in Odisha, what we call farming system for nutrition. Farming system, same approach, farming systems research, FSR is a well-known methodology. You mainstream nutrition in FSR, farming system, survey the area for identifying the nutrition problem. Both undernutrition is common almost everywhere. That is arising largely from poverty. Poverty reduces undernutrition. Hidden hunger, vitamin A, vitamin B12, folic acid, zinc, iron deficiency. Many of these are called hidden hunger. Micronutrients, small quantities they are needed. For example, a deficiency of vitamin A at a young age will make the child prone to eye problem. Identify agricultural remedies for nutritional maladies. The most important thing is the crop livestock integration, cultivation of pulses, and biofortified crops. Biofortified crops means the crops which are rich in micronutrients. I will give you a couple of examples. Biofortification can be natural, that is in nature, Or you can also, by breeding, increase the vitamin A content to the vitamin B12, zinc, iron, and so on. Mainstream nutritional criteria in the design of the farming system. I have been requesting the Minister, Shishir Pawarji, and the horticulture mission. We have a very large horticulture mission. I said, apart from growing bananas and so on, you also identify through the horticulture mission one more item you take up, that is overcoming malnutrition induced by macronutrients. Employ one home science graduate in every district to help the malnutrition identify what are the health problems and which the horticultural remedy for a nutritional malady. You have a nutrition, you put a double column. This is the nutritional problem, vitamin A deficiency. Which plant can provide you with that deficiency? Mainstream nutritional criteria in the design of the farming system. Improve small farm productivity and profitability, because they need cash income to buy other things, including milk and so on sometimes. Introduce monitoring systems impact based on well-defined and measurable criteria. Social protection for ending hunger is now receiving considerable attention. The latest in our country is the National Food Security Bill. I will mention it in a few minutes, the National Food Security Act. Social protection has to be intragenerational and intergenerational. Intragenerational nutrition support programs on a life cycle basis, that is from conception to cremation, all aspects of the life cycle we look after. Nutrition support to end maternal and fetal malnutrition, and by the birth of children with low birth weight, less than 2.5 kilograms. It has other consequences in terms of the low birth weight children have a number of handicaps in later life, and it's almost, I would say, the most serious form of iniquity, even at birth. Iniquity, we are talking about social inclusion, but the worst form of iniquity, which is perpetuated at birth, is the intergenerational malnutrition. Our most, I think the most important step taken in our country is the Food Security Bill, as and when it is before a parliamentary committee, now headed by Mr. Muttanbar from Vidarbha. Eliminate under and malnutrition in the country is a stated goal. The bill will not end malnutrition because it doesn't provide for micronutrients and so on, but it can end calorie deficiency, in other words, undernutrition. What are the special features of the bill as it is now? Only after it is passed by Parliament you will know the final features. Those of you who are interested, you might have seen already it in the website. Legal entitlement to priority groups. Instead of calling below the poverty line and above the poverty line, it has been suggested we just call those who need social protection, as priority groups. Life cycle approach in entitlement. Enlarged food basket is very important, because so far our PDS, public distribution system, has been dealing only with wheat and rice. That's what is available. Now the whole series of what formerly was called coarse cereals, that is ragi, jowar, bajri and madhuvar, a whole series of minor millets, sometimes called in literature as orphan crops, that is those which are not receiving the attention they deserve. Formerly these crops were very important in diet. Gradually they are going out. Today in tribal areas and so on, if you go, many of these minor millets, as you may call them, panicum, paspalum, setaria, and so on, many of them are important. So they have now been put as nutri-cereals, at 1 rupee per kilogram, wheat at 2 rupees per kilogram, and rice at 3 rupees per kilogram. 35 kilograms per family. This is the present formulation. What will happen when finally the bill is passed, we do not know. Enlarged food basket, and another very significant feature of the present draft of the legislation is recognizing the woman at the head of the household, thereby recognizing the critical role women play in household food and nutrition security. In other words, ration card or Aadhaar, whatever it is, it will be given, the entitlement card will be in the name of the woman of the household. So look at many of you who were not even born when we were leading a ship-to-mouth existence in the 1960s. Internationally, we were described as a nation which was living from ship to mouth. In other words, a ship has to come containing either PL480 wheat or some other wheat and so on to our country before we can feed our public distribution system. From that situation, ship to mouth in 1960s, to right to food, a legal right to food with homegrown food in the year 2012 is a historic transition. In fact, 2012 is a historic transition when we are making the transition from ship to mouth to right to food with homegrown food. And I think we must also realize between then our population was 350 million or so, the early 60s, 400 million. It is now over 1.2 billion, 3 times has grown, in spite of the growth in population. Why I am mentioning, because many times we run down our country everywhere, but should not run down the farmers, as Dr. Kurien will say. They have done a superb job in terms of producing more under rather difficult circumstances. In fact, they were all being ridiculed. I think they have got a quotation. Now let me give you a few examples of biofortified crops. One is the common drumstick in Tamil Nadu called Murgaikai Moringa. It comes from the, it's a very rich, you see how 25 times iron in spinach, 70 times calcium in milk, 15 times more of potassium in bananas, 10 times more of vitamin A in carrots, 9 times more protein in yogurt. This is the latest National Geographic. Your library must be having it, November issue of National Geographic. You can see this wonder crop, the moringa, how much nutrients it has. You see, we go on talking about various fortification, biscuits and so on. There are a number of local grown crops which can provide you with the micronutrients which you need. Take, for example, there are vitamin-rich egg, cassava, maize, sweet potato, iron, bean, pearl millet. There are zinc and wheat rice. The deficiencies in vitamin A, iron, and zinc affect over one half of the human population, according to the World Health Organization. Therefore, the simplest way of getting out of the stigma of a country with the largest amount of malnutrition is to look at our own flora, our own crops, and then introduce mainstream nutrition dimension in the cropping pattern. People will partially look at the sweet potato, yellow-orange flesh sweet potato, very high in beta-carotene, and it grows very well. In fact, we have always, after a flood in Bihar and so on, generally we have introduced the sweet potato. Children like it. Some years ago, when there was a super cyclone in Orissa, the Kendrapara region, they didn't know, they had not cultivated sweet potato before. We got 1 million cuttings from Trivandrum, where there is a Central Tuber Crop Research Institute, and spread it. Now they are growing it. Their children love it, and a source of very important vitamin A. Approaches to leveraging agriculture and nutrition. One is the rural system research. This will be of interest to you, what I coined the term rural system research, RSR, in a talk in IFAD about 20 years ago. RSR, rural system research, takes a holistic view of rural livelihoods, both on-farm and non-farm. The major aim of RSR is to ensure work and income security to family farmers operating small holdings, improving the productivity and profitability of small holdings in an environmentally sustainable manner, and generating opportunities for agro-processing and value addition to primary products, as well as creating awareness for productive employment in the services sector are the goals. This will require training managers, the last portion of developing the services sector and all this. This is why institutions like IRMA are extremely important. We have also got a whole series of training programs called Community Hunger Fighters. In other words, since we're all coming from Delhi or the state capital, look at the community. We have the Panchayat Raj system, we have the Gram Sabhas and the Gram Panchayats, both representative democracy as well as both participatory democracy. Gram Sabha is a participatory democracy. Elected members are representative democracy. Both of them are there, but we are not using them effectively in our country. They are a great source. Now there are 1.7 million women members, of elected women members of panchayats, because 50% now, 50% the proportion of elected members of panchayats. Provide to every family. What are the community hunger fighters doing? Provide to every family an entitlements passbook containing information on all the nutrition support schemes to which the family is entitled. We have a very large number of schemes. It varies also from state to state, both state government, central government, sometimes also non-government organization are also introducing their own scheme. Give whatever is available, give a passbook, a nutrition entitlement passbook, in which all these schemes are listed, how to access it, what is the address or telephone number of the person concerned. Bring about convergence and synergy in the delivery system based on a deliver as one approach. Deliver as one is the most difficult one, but it's important. It's sanitation, hygiene, drinking water, Rajiv Gandhi drinking water mission, the total sanitation program, how do you bring them all together in the delivery as one. Organize community kitchens wherever they are needed, become well-versed on the causes and cures for the endemic hunger, pay special attention to pregnant women and to the first 1,000 days in a child's life. Margaret, these are all what the community hunger fighters are doing. They have to be trained, but they are very fast in learning because they are living with nature. They are not very difficult. Particularly, we select people with children so that they are much more aware of both maternal child nutrition as well as adult nutrition. Rural systems research, how do you operationalize it? We have a model called BioVillage. Bios means living. It's another term for human-centered development. The a paradigm of human-centered development. It has got two major components. One is natural resources conservation and enhancement, particularly what about the common property resources. Sometimes common property resource is an euphemism for a degraded land. The land is degraded or overgrazed, there is nothing there and so on. So create a consciousness of the need to protect the common property resources, the land, the water, biodiversity and climate. Among sustainable livelihoods, both on-farm and non-farm or off-farm, high productivity and profitability, and market-driven products providing need-based services. For example, these are all the bio-villages in Pondicherry. Each one, they identify what are the marketable market. It's a market-driven enterprise. There is no subsidy. It's based on microcredit, operated by themselves. Microcredit is provided to them. Trichoderma, mushroom, crab. For example, vermiculture has now become vermicompost. The demand is increasing. People are becoming aware of the importance of nutrients. So we call them biological software for sustainable agriculture. Biological software industries are taken up very easily by these bio-villages, and then you link it to the market which is there. Take for example this Dalit part of the village, Dalit part of one village, where they have even more acute malnutrition, the number of problems which are known to you. How do you live in property? So fortunately there were a number of fume pipes. The government had a project which they had abandoned and the pipes are all there. So shift the pipes and on them they produce now ornamental fisheries. In fact, these women have now started exporting to Singapore ornamental fishes. Gradually their work has increased, the size of their operation has increased. In other words, these are all opportunities which are there in the ground, but it requires somebody to, like you, to go there and show it. Mushroom, this another Dalit family. They had only the hut, they had no other property except the hut. So what can you do within the hut? The little part of the hut was utilized for mushroom production. When we started the work, mushroom was selling at Pondicherry at about 30 rupees per kilogram. Yesterday I was there, it is now nearly 90, 100 rupees because 5-star hotels have increased and the consumption of mushroom has gone up. It has become now a cottage industry with most of these women. 2014 is called, this year the International Year of Cooperatives. 2014 is the International Year of Family Farming. The UN General Assembly adopted at its 66th session, held on 13 December 2011, a resolution for commemorating 2014 as the International Year of Family Farming. This is to recognize the important contribution that family farming and smallholder farming play in providing food security and eradicating poverty and in the attainment of the UN Millennium Development Goals. India has nearly 25% of the world's primary farmers because in our country the land is individually owned. In China it is socially owned but individually cultivated. You are almost a tenant in perpetuity. They don't change you. unless you don't cultivate properly. In our country, the land is individually owned, therefore they are all family farmers. How do we strengthen their livelihood? So international year of family farming is to highlight once again the role of family farmers, because they are all being displaced by large multinational companies and so on, national or multinational, whatever it is, the corporate sector. And how do you preserve family farming? Because family farming is both a means to livelihood and a way of life. It's a way of life and a means to livelihood. How do you conserve it? It's important. I mentioned to you earlier, we were the object of ridicule in the 60s. Paul and Anne Ehrlich, in your library, you have the compilation bomb, the at that time, it was a very famous book called Population Bomb. They are population experts. And they, in 1968, I will tell you about the significance of this year. 1968, their book on population bomb was published. Paul and Anne, his wife. Sometime between 1970 and 1985, the world will undergo vast famines. Hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death. That is, they will starve to death unless plague, thermonuclear war, or some other agents kill them first. You see how it's a very cynical statement. Unless thermonuclear war kills them first. The United States should announce that no longer ship food to countries such as India, where dispassionate analysis indicates that the imbalance between food and population is hopeless. These were their predictions in 1968. But 1968, they were rather confused. But the same year, Indira Gandhi released a stamp called the Wheat Revolution. In fact, Paul Ehrlich said, I don't understand what is happening in India. I've just published a book saying it's hopeless. They are saying there's a revolution. The revolution, the Wheat Revolution, what are the major components of the revolution? Technology is the primer of change. Unless you have technology, you can't change. Services, there's no use in technology. There's no use in my saying to the farmer, I have a new variety if I don't have the seeds. The seeds must be available. The other supporting services, if it is the pulses, you must have phosphatic fertilizers, biofertilizers, and so on. Public policies, particularly in input-output pricing. Finally, the economics is very important, and above all, farmers' own enthusiasm. Without farmers' enthusiasm, you can do nothing at all. Indian farmers achieved as much progress in wheat production in 4 years, that is 64 to 68, as during the preceding 4,000 years. Our recorded history shows that there is evidence that during the Mohenjo-daro period, wheat cultivation was present. So about 4,000 years. As a result of 4,000 years of evolution of wheat cultivation in India, at the time of our independence in 1947, we were producing 6 million tons of wheat. 6 million tons of wheat. This year it is about 92 million tons. But between 64 and 68, farmers raised the production by another 10 million tons. In other words, they achieved more than, in 4 years, than what the previous 4,000 years. This is why it was called a revolution. It's not an evolutionary change, it's a revolutionary change. What were the 3 major ingredients? Scientific know-how is fundamental, but political do-how is equally important. Fortunately, there was a minister, Mr. C. Subramaniam came, then Lal Bahadur Shastri came. Without political support, Dr. Kurien has also acknowledged many times the support given by successive prime ministers and encouragement given by them is an important factor. Political do-how and farmers' enthusiasm. When I say do-how, it means about how much lending, what kind of interest rate, how much is the price, procurement price, how do you assure assured marketing, storage, and so on. Investment in infrastructure, rural infrastructure, and farmers' own enthusiasm is important. This was the stamp which was released by Indira Gandhi in July 1968. It shows that library, like your own tower here, that's the library clock tower of the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi. Her idea was to show the role of science in this revolution. That is why she wanted the IRMA library with the histogram of what was done. But at the same time, almost before the term Green Revolution was coined, Rachel Carson, 50 years ago exactly, 1962, she published the book Silent Spring, where she warned about the excessive use of chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, over-exploitation of groundwater, the eutrophication of lakes, and so on. In fact, Albert Schweitzer, a Nobel laureate, after reading her book said, man has lost the capacity to foresee and to forestall. He will end by destroying the earth. That was the origin of the ban on DDT and so on, and the integrated pest management. So on the 50th anniversary of Rachel Carson, Many of our observations are still valid. There is indiscriminate use of fertilizers and pesticides, which are not very good. So I coined the term about 30 years ago, evergreen revolution. Green revolution is another term for increasing production through the productivity pathway, not by area expansion. You can either grow more through area expansion, or you have vertical growth in productivity. So green revolution was not a horizontal growth in area, but a vertical growth in productivity, yield per hectare. And that is all which is possible, because from those days to now the cultivated land has further shrunk. In fact, all the farmers in whose fields I had laid national demonstration in 63, 64, near Gorgon or the Delhi area, they are all today malls. They have to malls, whatever. They all disappeared. Farmers have disappeared. They have sold their land and they have given away the land. So land is a shrinking resource for agriculture. So there is no other way except to produce more from less land, less per capita availability of land, and also less water. That's what evergreen revolution means, increasing productivity in perpetuity without ecological harm. You can achieve it by two methods. One is organic farming, wherever you have enough livestock, or other methods of replenishing soil fertility, and proper methods of plant protection. These are two challenges: soil health and plant health. Both of them have to be safeguarded without the use of chemicals. Or you can use what we call green agriculture, which allows conservation farming with the help of integrated pest management, integrated nutrient supply. That means use minimum essential pesticide, minimum essential mineral fertilizer, and so on, and integrated natural resources management. Above all, you have to be aware that farm ecology and economics go wrong. Nothing else will go out in agriculture. You must protect the ecology, we must protect the economics of farming. Water is going to be an increasingly important problem. This is where water cooperatives or methods of cooperation, even if not cooperative, at the instance of the Honorable Supreme Court, which has been instrumental in our country for initiating a number of important activities. Apart from other things, the Department of Science and Technology was asked to start a program on water. They called it War for Water, not fighting for water, but war is winning, augmentation and renovation. It has these components: rainwater harvesting, recycling of wastewater, conjunct use of water, both rainwater, surface water, all the river water and so on. Technologies for desalination, providing safe drinking water for rural and remote areas. I must say the program is being fast, but that cannot be done by each individual farmer. It has to be a group of people. Equity in water sharing is important for cooperation in water saving. It's a very fundamental rule. Unless it's saving cooperate, equity in water sharing is fundamental to cooperation in water saving. And that is why these SORA, Mahatma Gandhi once said, if people like to, IRMA graduates, some graduates went to him and asked, Babaji, what can we do for rural India? And this is what, according to an article in Harijan, the fact is the villagers have lost all hope. They suspect that every stranger's hand is at their throats and that he goes to them only to exploit them. The divorce between intellect and labor has paralyzed our agriculture. A very important statement made long ago in the 1930s. The divorce between intellect and labor has paralyzed our agriculture. The worker should enter villages full of love and hope, feeling sure that where men and women labor unintelligently and remain unemployed half the year round, he working all the year round and combining labor with intelligence cannot fail to win the confidence of the villagers. In other words, what he wanted is more your technical knowledge, not only just Shramdan, not only some people go to Shramdan and come away, but what he wanted was your knowledge, your intellectual knowledge is most important. We have this very large program of NAREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program. In some areas it is doing well, but in my view it will do much better. It has got labor, because even the Act provides it should not have even skilled labor. It's only unskilled work, even for women. Although we pleaded that things like running a crèche, running an Anganwadi, gender-specific needs of women should also find a place in NAREGA. The Act doesn't provide originally. They are trying to amend it. Mostly 70% in many parts of India are women. But what they require is much more technical input. There's some kind of a small technical consortium wherever large amount of NREGA work, because if you read the NREGA work program, it is watershed management, water harvesting, aquifer recharge. Many of them require some technical knowledge also combined. There's a beautiful statement by Abraham Lincoln. He said the same thing in the United States in 1859. That no other human occupation opens so wide a field for the profitable and agreeable combination of labor with cultivated thought as agriculture. This is what Mahatma Gandhi said, combine intellect with labor, or brain and brawn. He said the combination of labor with cultivated thought as agriculture. Every blade of grass is a study, and to produce two valuables but one is both a profit and a pleasure. Both a profit. It's a very beautiful statement by Lincoln on the importance of, he was addressing really in Wisconsin, the college graduates, and that is what he said. You have to give your knowledge to the villages. Amrita Patel started the tree cooperatives. That can be done. In fact, agroforestry today is realized as one of those which combine both the combination of forestry and agriculture. In other words, your short-term need and long-term, both of them can be combined. And we can do it in NREGA very well. We can plant these trees, but if we can select the trees which are also fixing nitrogen or adding carbon to the soil, what are now called fertilizer trees. This 5-Harbia albida, tree cooperatives building soil carbon banks, as was done here by the tree cooperative movement, mitigating climate change, the role of terrestrial carbon banks. You see, one of the reasons why we are not getting enough return from our fertilizer is because the soil organic carbon content is very low, and that's one of the major problems. You see, increasing soil carbon pool by 1 ton carbon per hectare per year in the root zone can increase food production by 30 to 50 million tons, according to Dr. Ratan Lal, who is one of our very famous soil scientists. And so, by the tree cooperatives taking fertilizer trees and sequestering carbon, storing it in the soil, ocean is a very large reserve of carbon pool. Similarly, the soil can be a very important. Agriculture is always said is adding to the problem of climate change, but we can reduce it by means of locking up a lot of carbon. Cooperatives for climate change mitigation, in my view, we need a new set of cooperatives in our villages or blocks, wherever they are. Those who are familiar with climate change mitigation, carbon dioxide, reducing deforestation and forest degradation. Methane, I recall Dr. Kurien, he was a man of great humor, as you know, and he used to say, my poor buffalo is being blamed by global climate change. They have got the buffalo as the cause of climate change. But that is true. They were at one stage, to divert attention, the developed countries started saying the animals and the rice paddies are two of the greatest villains in terms of imbalance between carbon emission and carbon absorption. Now, biogas plants are a win-win. You have the biogas, the energy, and at the same time the manure. It's almost having the cake and eating it too. Nitrous oxide, we have a lot of neem-coated urea. We have biogas plant, a few fertilizer trees, and a farm pond in every farm can make a lot of difference in all our dry farming areas. Now today, one of the problems is extension of knowledge. In the past, we had to go to national demonstration, extension officers and so on. Today, it is one of the most egalitarian technology is the mobile telephony. The internet, the mobile telephone can do a miracle in terms of getting the right information at the right place at the right time. For example, so we created, one of the important things is to provide a sense of self-esteem to rural women, that they are also doing a wonderful job. They are not just purely a physical laborer. Their intellect is as important as the labor. So we started the Jamshedji Tata National Virtual Academy, and Dr. Abdul Kalam came to the first 2 convocations. He attended the first convocation, he liked it very much. He said, will you invite me for the second convocation? We did invite him and he came, I must say, not only just purely metaphorically. And these are all academicians. They are mostly 8th class or 10th class. They have mastered the digital technology. They are running rural knowledge centers, what we call the rural knowledge centers. Because knowledge is information plus value addition. A value addition to information is knowledge. A location-specific one, a generic one is converted into a location-specific one. So these are his words, Abdul Kalam's words. The academy represents the celebration of India's rural core competence. This was a man who lost his wife during the tsunami of 2000, we had a very bad tsunami in the Tamil Nadu coast, Andhra coast, and so on. It didn't go elsewhere. It came from Sumatra, as you know, December 26, 2004. And this man lost his life, and he lost his livelihood for some time. We were very despondent. Today, he's a small fisherman, artisanal fisherman. Before going, he checks up what the wave heights are at different distances from the shoreline. This data is provided by an organization, the Ministry of Earth Sciences, called INCOIS. It is Indian National Oceans Information Service, located in Hyderabad. They give fairly accurate data on the wave heights at different distances. They also give you an idea of where the fish shoals are. So this man knows approximately where to go. He used to go, he's keeping a record, how much time he used to spend before, 12 hours, sometimes 14 hours, to get the fish he wanted. Now he comes back within 2 hours, quite confident and so on. So we call it a transformational technology. It transforms one's life. It transforms one's life. So today we are fortunate that we have modern information technology and many other things. In fact, in my printed text, which you will get it later, as soon as the lecture is over, there I have dealt also with biotechnology, but I won't have time now to go into it. Kindly read that printed manuscript with me. My last slide, I started by saying Dr. Kurien's great contribution, apart from Amul and so on, is once again the reiteration, emphasis on the critical role of farmers in our national economy. He always was proud of saying, I am an employee of the farmers, I earn my salary from farmers. How many people say, if you go to a government department, they will call farmers as beneficiaries, some beneficiaries of some government program. I used to tell them, the only beneficiaries in the country are the six pay commission people. They are the real beneficiaries, not the farmers and so on. So the whole attitude towards farmers in our country, there were 3 people more than anybody else who played an important role in highlighting once again the supremacy of the farmers, their contribution, our indebtedness to them. One is Mahatma Gandhi. You cannot see it here. Mahatma Gandhi went for a week to the National Dairy Research Institute in Bangalore long ago, 1930s. And the director of that Dairy Research Institute is now in Karnal. It was transferred later, but it's still, the Bangalore is there. But it came from Bangalore to Karnal. There, it is still preserved by them, the visitor's book. The director gave a visitor's book, and he wrote name M.K. Gandhi, occupation farmer, that's the most important. And then address Sabarmati. He put himself as farmer, and he was a barrister, he was MA, LLB, now he will add PhD and so on. But he actually called himself a farmer. In other words, he thought farmers is the most dignified profession in this country, the most important. And Lal Bahadur Shastri gave the slogan, Jai Kisan, and also requested Dr. Kurien to start the National Dairy Development Board and chair it as first. And Dr. Kurien, as he said, the modern Gandhi, who gave again prestige to both farming and farmers. I think that's the message I would like to leave with you, this picture. The 3 giants of India, the 3 great sons of India, who have once again shown what the priority should be, where our gratitude should lay. And if you read my written text at the end, I've said, we live on this earth as guests of the green plants and sunlight, and the farmers who convert sunlight and green plants into food for us in rain and sun. And that's what Dr. Kurien's philosophy. Let us celebrate his life and learn from what his lessons, as was mentioned in the previous one. And again, thank you for the opportunity you have given me for making this small presentation. Thank you.